Howdy y'all, and welcome to Creators Gaming. Today we're going to be working on some more of my dungeon tiles. I'm trying to mix it up a little bit where y'all don't get too bored watching the same thing over and over and over again. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to it. To start off with, I'm going to use my pre-cut foam that I cut 2 inches by 5 inches, and I'm just going to go ahead and score it at the 1 inch mark using my hot wire cutter. Like 99% of the other crafts that I make, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to look close. And you can tell on this one, when I was cutting the foam, I did it too fast because you see those drag marks. It will show up later. I'm not very happy with this piece. I may end up remaking it later. I tend to get into a rush with things and then we get the drag marks, so that's no bueno. On my hot wire cutter, I did pre-measure out the 1 inch spots and drew the line out. That way I have a little cheat sheet for myself. Just in case y'all are wondering why I'm fiddling with the lever so much. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut a portion of this one off because I'm going to do something special with it, which you'll get to see here in just a few. Because what dungeon is complete without a few traps at least? Now you will notice that I am using that dreaded tacky glue. I did make this around the same time that I made the swamp pit. I will never be using the tacky glue again. It takes too long, and as y'all all know, I have no patience. So hot glue from now on. Just had to fight with the stringers later. That's a-okay with me. But if you prefer not to fight with the hot glue stringers and you do have time to sit around and wait, sometimes for days, the tacky glue is okay. If you don't have anything else, it works. At this portion of the video, I am going to pause to remind you that you can become a Patreon or buy us a coffee. All proceeds do go towards helping out the channel and buying supplies. We greatly appreciate it. Alright, getting back to it. We're doing a different part of the dungeon. This one's going to be more of a circular area in my dungeon. I haven't decided what I'm going to put in that middle pitfall trap. It may just be an oubliette. I haven't decided yet. It could have water in it with swamp monsters. I haven't decided yet. So we're going to go ahead and draw the outline and then get to cutting the edges. And this part doesn't have to be too perfect. Matter of fact, it's better if it's kind of jagged, so it adds to the character. And the centerpiece I am going to save because it's going to be my stone arches at the very end. There's no need to waste any parts. Matter of fact, those other corner pieces are also going to be a part of it. Just haven't decided how yet. They may just be rubble. I did try to go ahead and score this with my hot wire cutter, but the piece is too large to do the whole thing, so I was only able to do the vertical lines. I'll do the horizontal pieces with an ink pen, which is just as good because it does the indentions the way I want it to be. This is just me being just a little extra. But y'all are used to that by now, I hope. And as I mentioned before, I'm just going to draw the lines with my trusty ink pen. That way it gets the indentions down. It picks up whenever we go to do the dry brushing later, so that's really what we're going for. And if you want them a little bit deeper, you can use a safety knife or you can use a fabric cutter. It still cuts the foam. I've learned that, and it is awesome. Think of it almost like cutting pizza. I'm getting ready to use that piece that I saved earlier. I'm just measuring out to the 1 inch marks and then going to slice it in half. And it's just a rough draft. It doesn't have to be exact, so whatever works. I am using my little handheld wire cutter. That way I can maneuver it a little easier and get the rock texture the way that I want it. Cutting off the sharp jagged edges and making it more rock-like. Do you plan on making them a bit more sturdy as well by putting a base for them? It's nothing special, it's more scrap pieces of the pink foam. And again, rounding it out where it looks a bit more natural. More of the dreaded tacky glue, which I did have to put a pin on the underneath side to try to hold it in. which did not work. I did have to go to my trusty old hot glue, which I should have done to begin with. Hindsight's 2020, right? Oh well, we learned something. I learned that I don't like tacky glue. Now for the fun part, you can either use a large rock or you can use some aluminum foil or tin foil or however you want to pronounce it. For this, I am going to use a lava rock because I like the texture that it puts onto the foam. And when I dry brush it later, it'll really bring out the details of the stonework that we're putting onto it. Very nice, if I don't say so myself. Now that my little Heidi trap pieces are dry, I can go ahead and get started on that. For this, I am using some scrap pieces of wood that I thought that looked like blades, and I am using some stir sticks. Just measuring out how long I want them to be because I don't want them to poke out. I'd like to be able to flip over this tile to be surprised and say, hey, guess what? You stepped on a trap. And to prove that I do learn from past mistakes, here comes the hot glue. And just a gentle reminder, be careful when using the hot glue because you can burn your poor little fingers. But it dries so much faster. And since this is a low heat gun, it does not melt my foam. So I'm going to go ahead and put my spike traps in now. You'll be able to see the spikes even better once we get paint on these. Now to take a page out of Black Magic Crafts, I am using some Mod Podge mixed with some black paint to go ahead and give it a good coat. It's also a good alternative to the Army Painter's primer spray that they make for foam. And the dry time for this is about 15-20 minutes tops. For the people who are trying to read at home, this is Territorial Beige that I'm going to do the first layer of dry brushing. And again, a nice reminder, with all acrylics it does dry a bit darker, so if you go too heavy-handed, don't worry. If it's still too bright when you're done, you can go over it with a wash and it'll darken it up. Don't forget the sides or the edges. It just gives it a bit more definition, and I kind of like it. Next up for your dry brushing pleasure is Khaki by Apple Barrel. Only the finest in this household. But we're going to do our second layer of dry brushing with this color, and I'm going to do it on the arches on this one, that way you don't have to watch me do the same piece over and over again. For our slicing trap, we're going to go ahead and use some silver metallic paints and go over that. Now you can put a little splatter on there if you want it gory. I don't, so I'm just going to do it with the silver metallic. Here's about how far I've gotten on my dungeon so far, including our acid pit that we've made in a previous video. I am super stoked on how this is turning out. There you have it, super easy dungeon tiles. If you like the video, please hit the like, subscribe, share the video. It helps out a whole lot, and I hope to see y'all again next Friday. Bye!